Hello, and welcome to the third and final watch party of the Great Fish Community Challenge. I am your host, Daniel Verardo, and I'm so glad that you were able to join us for How to Change a Life, a CASA short documentary featuring Teresa Kennedy and Glenna Burke as they share their story and navigate through what being a CASA is all about. So without any further delay, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
The greatest reward is it's changing the life of that kid. I mean, to think if it weren't for her 9 or 10 years ago, I wouldn't be a CASA probably. It was because of her making me realize I was making a difference in her life, even though the rest of the world seemed completely broken for her. And I couldn't do anything about it. It was because of that child. And to think now that I've had any impact at all on another person's life is just mind-boggling to me. In a volunteer position, it's amazing. Well, in the beginning as a CASA, it's always a little uncomfortable because these kids have so many strangers in their life during the hardest time of their life that you're just another stranger. So they aren't very friendly, typically. They don't trust you. They don't want another person in their business. So it's always a little awkward in the beginning. Glenn and I connected quicker than I have with a lot of my cases. And I don't know if that's just our personalities, but it was still really challenging in the beginning. I mean, I was so new. I wasn't exactly sure how it all went, but I knew that I just needed to keep trying. And I knew she would keep trying to push me away, and that's okay. And so we connected pretty early on, but it was a struggle. And then ultimately, I just love the kid. She's a great, bright, for a 15-year-old kid to sit across from lunch and actually ask you how you're doing is pretty remarkable. And it just blossomed from me sort of being her support system and being there for her to just, I love that kid. And I can't wait to be around her.
So what did you guys do for her birthday?
Well, we haven't celebrated her birthday yet. Her birthday was the 17th, and I didn't get a chance to see her, so we're going to meet today at the park and celebrate together. Anytime we get a chance to get together and just catch up for lunch, we try to get together. Her kids have been visiting on the east side of Montana, so she goes back and forth a little bit. They have dual custody of the kids, but every time she's here, we try to get together. Chocolate, but
ooh, that's
look at you with your curly hair. Oh, you look gorgeous.
Having her in my life was, I guess I didn't really think much of it at the age I was at. I definitely felt more of she was like a friend.
Here, hold it. No. I want you to put your birthday present in the car. And
you baked.
You know how I feel about baking.
What did you bake? You didn't bake cookies, did you?
No, I did
Was
not.
it a pie?
Oh, look, one fell over.
You made cupcakes. Oh, there's so many sprinkles. I had her there, and she was somebody who knew what she was doing, knew what I was going through, and just there for me. It wasn't for her. It wasn't. She wasn't getting anything out of it other than just purely helping me.
Yeah, I tried to do this with the sprinkles and they wouldn't stick, so I just turned around and dumped them into the hole.
You just squished them on there. They look so good.
There's got to be a way to do that, but
the candles
did.
It was kind of like a getaway, just having her in my life, because she'd come and get me, and we'd go to coffee and we'd just talk, and sometimes we would talk about what my day or my week was like, and then other times we would just talk about her, what she had done, the past week, and it wasn't I felt like I had to be a certain way with her. I didn't have rules I needed to follow. I could just be myself.
She asked me something about, how my mom was doing. I haven't seen her in 3 years. She'd moved away And I mean, this is a kid that's genuinely interested in somebody else. And that's rare for adults. I mean, much less this 20-year-old child. Oh, she's great. Maybe you and I should do that to get you ready for flying to Mexico or traveling the world.
Growing up in the foster system, it was really hard for me to, I guess, be a certain way because there was so many, like, I mean, we had to ask to go to the bathroom, we had to ask to go to our bedrooms, we had to ask for everything. And with Teresa, it was just like a getaway. I could finally breathe when she was around. And it just, I mean, it was something I looked forward to. Be like, oh my gosh, it's, you know, this day's coming up, or tomorrow I get to go see her. And then, like, when it was like time for her to like bring me back or take me back home, it was like, dang, I don't want to go back.
I think, you know, when I'm with her, it's really about her. So I think I'm sensitive that these kids are so bound and have so many rules and so many expectations everywhere they are that I try to be really sensitive when we're together that it's really just about her. And it isn't about me teaching her anything or about me correcting her or about me any of those things. There's no really expectations. It's just for me to be there for her. I'm telling you. I'm not there to be her teacher, her therapist, her doctor, I'm just there to be there for her.
So I first learned about CASA when I was working at the Flathead Youth Home. So I would be working with kids and their CASAs would come in to visit them and talk with them. And, you know, there was a couple kids who've been in foster care basically their whole lives and they're teenagers now. And it was really cool to see the relationship that they had with their CASA. It was kind of like the only adult relationship that they had that had known them, you know, since the beginning. And just was really intriguing to me. So when I had more time and I wasn't at the youth home anymore, I decided that that was something that I would like to do, be a CASA, and so got into it that way.
I decided I wanted to be a CASA because I'd worked with children my entire life and decided that there were kids that needed more stability in their lives who didn't have it, and thought that I might be useful in that role.
I became a CASA because I wanted to make an impact in someone's life, and I had learned about the CASA program through some friends, and the more I looked into it, the more I realized this could be a great opportunity to make an impact in somebody's life, and I've since learned that it's maybe even more greatly impacted my life.
The reason I became a CASA was to give back. I wanted to give back to society, and I was watching a Dr. Phil show one time, and they were talking about CASA, and I thought that'd be a great fit for me. So I decided to go to my local CASA office, and way back then we did one training a year. So I had to wait until the fall. But when fall came, I was ready, and I've been in it since 2012.
CASA is such a great organization. I learned about it when we lived in Washington, and when we came to Flathead, I wanted to be a part of it. And I just think it's so good for the community, for the children, for the parents, and for us.
I just remember, you know, I don't really have any specific I have a lot of great specific memories about lunches and just being with you, but I just remember always getting so excited to get to see you and spend time with you.
I think like one of my all-time favorite thing was when I was in Youth Challenge and you'd send me cards all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And those little, what were they? They're like little squares with like inspirational quotes and stuff on them. I loved those. I always looked forward to them. A lot of struggles, I guess, of being a foster kid is like being controlled by people you just kind of want that connection with like your parents, but then you like have it from somebody you're not really, you know, she's like my cousin. You know, she is my cousin. So, like, we butt heads a lot. And, like, our first actual fight that we got into, the time that I called you, when we lived in Lakeside. And I think that was probably the scariest thing because she kept, like, threatening me she was going to call my caseworker. And she called you, and you're like, okay, well, let me talk to her. And we talked, and, like, you calmed me down, like, you reassured me, like, do you want to go by the river?
Yeah, sure.
Definitely were there. Like, I wanted to leave. I wanted to go back to the group home and everything. And you, like, reminded me, hey, you know, everybody's going to get in arguments. Not everything's smooth. Like, it's a transition. And you definitely helped me, like, work through that argument. But
I'm glad you guys called.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a wonderful thing that you felt safe and comfortable enough to call me. I feel like, you know, the hardest part for you, I mean, certainly one of the most challenging I've had in all of the years I've done this is just how many CPS workers that you had. They were going through a transitional time, and it just felt like every 3 months we had somebody else coming new to the case. And I mean, with that, there were so many placements. It just felt like, you know, I was struggling just to get you settled somewhere.
yeah.
And it just kept changing and kept blowing up on us. And I think that was probably the hardest part of your case for me, is I just wanted you to have a place.
Yeah,
you know,
just to see, like,
to call home.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, definitely was hard. Like, I pretty much aged out without placement.
right.
So,
what do you think? I mean, if you were talking now to another foster kid, for you, what was your experiences? You know, what were the hardest parts about being, you know, in the system? And
I would definitely, like, warn them about the attachments. Like, you can't get too attached to, you know, like, your caseworkers or in your group homes with, like, your, you know, the staff in there, the kids. But if they're lucky enough to get a good CASA, that's probably one thing that I would encourage them to, like, hold on to, because I mean, that was, like, one constant thing in my life was you. And just, like, having you there since, how old was I?
gosh, you were 14. Yeah.
And now I'm 24.
And you're
so it's
24.
10 years. Yeah.
I really feel like as a CASA, my main role is a support role for the child. Just that extra person in their life who can kind of follow them along the process of being in foster care, and then you know, maybe getting adopted or maybe getting reunified with their family, but just that person there who knows all the information on their story and can help advocate for them.
I think my primary role as a CASA is to help determine what is best for the kids that I work with, and to help them mature and grow in a way that will make them more successful in their lives.
So often these kids can become a number in a system that is moved around, and I feel like it's my job to make them, instead of a number that's being managed, into a human being that's being heard and cared for.
We follow them through their life, or as long as they're with us, and we go to schools, we go to their doctors, we visit the child as often as we can, sometimes once a week, sometimes once a month, depending on where they are. We talk with the family, we talk with CPS, we talk with everyone we know that knows these children and knows what's happened to them, grandparents, aunts, uncles, anyone that knows them.
Providing hope, providing a connection, the relationship. Some of them are missing all of that, unfortunately. And through no fault of their own, they have become foster children. And I think in order to move forward, you need that hope. And so by connecting with them through relationships, you're able to give them a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine, you know, going through social workers every few months and all the people that are in your life during that time that you don't know, and it's got to be scary.
Yeah. I can't even count how many caseworkers I had. And then, like, with the placements, there's the group home, and then Jim and Diana, Joe, Helen, another group home, Amy, back to Joe. So that's like, yeah, and then the youth challenge. So that's like 8 placements all in 4 years. And then, I don't know, probably like 10, 13 plus caseworkers. So, I mean, I didn't have anything constant, like, I didn't have anybody there all the time, Like, you're the only thing that was actually in my life from when it, all fell apart. And I think that is, like, the most important thing, being a kid in the system or just a kid in general, is just having one person that's always there. Because, like, I developed a lot of attachment issues, and, like, I, like, have this horrible habit of pushing everybody away. And you've seen it, like, you've witnessed it over the years, but I think that having you around has, like, taught me a lot of, like, it's okay to trust people. Like, not everybody's out to leave you or hurt you or, whatever. But it's just really important to have you. Like, I feel like that helped me a lot.
The value of a CASA in my capacity as a judge, as the CASAs really provide the voice of the children and assist me in making critical decisions and involving kids. I want to make the most informed decision that I can. And with a CASA's objective report, I'm able to do that. I prioritize my cases with children as my highest priority in the court system. CASA really makes a difference in these children who have been placed in foster care, in that a CASA is able to devote the time where our workload, all of us are stressed and we have limited resources, whereas a CASA can keep that regular contact with the child, the foster parents, the schools, and medical personnel, and provide us with that objective, fact-based recommendations to the court. The CASA and volunteers really provide a tremendous service with their volunteer and team that they bring to the court.
It's kind of mind-boggling to me that we, even after all these years, that we do have such a big voice in court and in the life of this child. It doesn't mean that our reports are absolutely taken as gospel, but most of the time I feel like the judges are absolutely so interested in what we have to say, because as they've told us before, I mean, I'm the one that walks into court that has met with not just the child, but everyone at their school that's in their lives, their therapists, their doctors, their CPS workers, their foster families, their bio families. I mean, when you look at the role of a CASA, we really are those people that have the entire story. So to feel like someone's calling you the day before court because you have all the information that's going to make the difference is pretty empowering. And you feel like you really are going to make a difference for this kid. It's amazing to me, even after all these years.
So I guess being a CASA, it feels like you're the child's storyteller, putting the pieces together for their whole life and getting to know them, especially my kid who, has been a baby most of the time and just starting to get her voice. I think it was super important to be able to speak for her, and to do that you have to know everything about her entire life and everybody who's been a part of it, and just kind of move that story forward with her and be able to advocate for her in that way.
Being a CASA, to me, is all about developing trust with a kid and also being part of a team that can help kids become the best thing that they can be.
Being a CASA is about giving a voice to somebody who doesn't necessarily have one, and it's about being there, being that trusted adult, being that trusted person that doesn't have another job, doesn't have another any other agenda, but making sure that that the child is heard and that their voice is ultimately heard. And once the kid realizes that you are there for them, they can feel it, and it makes a big difference.
So being a CASA to me is about connecting with children. It's about providing a voice in court and supporting them when they feel nobody's supporting them. Letting them see that you're there for them and you are that one adult that they can count on. So in the kids that I work with, especially the older ones, I try to create that relationship where they know that what I say is what's going to happen. Never making promises, because I can't, but doing my best to give them what they need and supporting them.
Teresa, for sure. Yeah, she taught me a lot. And it's like, I don't even know how to explain it at this point, really. She's never, done me wrong. She's just always been there. She's always supported me and, called me out on my... I was gonna say about her. She's just different person.
Well, I think, when I look back over the cases, Glenn is pretty special in that it's been 10 years and I feel like she's one of my daughters, and it's a different relationship. We've gotten very close. It's not always the case with every kiddo. I mean, some cases it is you have a relationship and you're there for them and you go to court and they get adopted or fostered or go home and maybe you don't see them again.
I heard about you long before we met. You're winsome and you're young, at least that's what they said. Underneath your glitter and your gold, you can't deny the fact that you are growing.
Cheers! It's so great to have sushi with you again.
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time, but it's great. I mean, it's got great memories for me, I know.
Yeah.
Do you remember when we had sushi and you had asked me at that time how old you had to be a CASA? Do you remember that?
Midori in Kalispell, yeah. Right. I remember that.
I don't know if I ever really told you that time in my life as a CASA. You were one of my first cases, which I think you do. But I was actually thinking about not being a CASA anymore.
Really?
And that day, that lunch, changed CASA for me. Yeah. And it's because of you and because of this case that I'm still here 9 years later. And I don't know if I ever told you how pivotal you were and how important you were to me, that I'm still here. All your
so
success.
Much to me.
It's the truth. And I'm glad I get to tell you that all these years later.
The thing that I look forward to the most is our dates. And just getting to see you and escaping from, my home life and school and just my everyday struggles that I had, and just being with you is a relief. And I've always had that want of helping kids and people. I've always been the healing type. I've always wanted to help people, and I guess it just made me want to be a CASA, I guess, because of just the impact you had on my life and how excited I was to see you and just getting out and away from everything was just relaxing. And it wasn't more of just getting away, it was your company. Mostly I felt at home. Whenever I got to see you, I just felt I could breathe again, really. And I wanted to be able to offer that to somebody else, to other kids. And it would be great.
I hope you do.
I definitely need to get more information about that. Our friendship is, it doesn't feel like pushed or pressured, I don't feel pressure when I'm hanging out with her. We have like inside jokes, like she doesn't bake and she made me cupcakes for my birthday, and it was just like the cutest thing because I told her, I was like, yeah, I love baking and cooking. Like, we have this like actual friendship, and that is something that, nobody's gonna see. They're just like, oh, well, this person is, pretty much like a mentor for her. Like she's, there for her. They do coffee, they do this. No, we have a bond. Like we actually get each other. We have fun together. We laugh all the time. Like she knows more about me than anybody else, really. Like she actually knows me. And that is what's important. Like I can, tell her a story and, like 3 months from now, we'll laugh about it because, something will come up and it'll just become like an inside joke. And that's like raw, that's something you need with somebody, and it's even more important, especially if you have it with your CASA. Like I'm lucky. I'm so lucky to have that with her.
Well, honey, I hope it's been, I hope I've been a little part of your life, but I just hope you know how important you've been to me, how much I love you. I can't imagine having done this journey really without you.
Yeah. I definitely feel really important having like just a part of your life and a part of like your success and just like the big milestones and your own life. Like we each impact each other's lives, and that's, I think, the most important part about, anybody's life, really. You need to have.
It's relationships,
Yeah.
right? I feel like that too. It's like everybody impacts your life in this little way or in this huge way, but I don't know, I think relationships are huge.
Well, as far as my relationship goes with my CASA kiddo, it is a little different because she is so young, but I have seen her, like I said, she's been in the same foster family the last 3 years, and to be able to see her grow up and kind of evolve in this healthy, loving environment has been really neat to see.
I think the most important part of my relationship with any kid is developing trust with them, because many of these kids have really not had anybody they can trust in their entire lives. So trust is a huge thing that needs to be developed with the kids.
When, for me, the first time, I met my CASA kid, and I was able to look into their eyes and see that they were giving up, and that was something that was really, really eye-opening to me, and to come into their lives and build that strong relationship with them might be the most meaningful thing that I do as a CASA.
It's different with each child. You're still creating a relationship, but when you're working with little ones, it's a different kind of relationship than it is with teenagers. And oftentimes I've had many teenagers that age out of the system or even, get adopted, find a family, and they still want that relationship to continue. And to me, that just proves that it's something important in their lives when they want it to continue and you're able to provide that.
I grew up, around alcohol and drugs and abuse and just constant conflict. And that was normal for me. Like I thought that was how everybody lived, really. And so it's just, my relationships, my friendships, it just wasn't very positive. It wasn't good until, I got put into the foster care, and I, started to see, I got out of that environment and put into a healthier environment. And I started to see how people interacted with each other and how friendships and relationships and stuff actually were healthy.
We're gonna help, in Glenna's example, we're gonna help that child break whatever cycle that they've been through in their life, so that when they're 18, 19, 20, when they become an adult, that they're making healthier choices, that they're getting an education, that they're able to take care of themselves and their family, that they're just a functioning grown-up in the world.
I think that CASA definitely needs to be more known. Like, it needs to be out there, because I feel like if it weren't for Teresa, I wouldn't be who I am today. I wouldn't have been able to break the cycle. I wouldn't have been able to, be the mom I am today if it weren't for her.
Wow, it's so amazing to see the life change that occurred for Teresa and Glenna through the CASA relationship. This is what CASA is all about: advocating for abused and neglected children, touching lives, and helping end child abuse and neglect in our community, one child at a time. You can join us in helping change our community. By giving to CASA through the Great Fish, you are maximizing your donation to CASA and helping more children in foster care like Glenna. To make a donation, click on the link in the post below. We need the help of our community. Please consider making a donation to CASA for Kids through the Great Fish, volunteering to become an advocate, or spreading the word about who we are and what we do. Now get ready to join us for the live show at 7:30 as I'm joined by Teresa and Glenna to talk about their story and answer your questions. Hope to see you there.